Charged up.
You are very loud today.
How about now?
I was just thumbing through the issue because a new one should be coming out sometime in the next 30 years. But if anybody's not seen, oh, wait a minute. Let's do, I have to always pretend like we didn't do something right. Just looking at how the magazine views on your computer. So if you don't know anything, we do a magazine. You're looking at it. Looks like a magazine, but no paper.
It's better for the Earth?
No, because you're on your computer that you got to mine the Earth for.
Good call.
And it's loading slow because this is a live link. You actually get a PDF. Anyway, just subscribe. It's $10. Don't be a cheap F. I was going to drop an F-bomb in the first minute or so, but not today. Let's remove that.
And to be clear, it's $10 for every new issue, but also you get 40 plus back issues on PDF. So.
That's a good value. You guys have a lot of good stuff in there.
Sometimes it's sort of like the show, you know. There's maybe one page you'll like. There's 1 minute you'll like here. Welcome to RC Babble, where 3 random people, sometimes the same, sometimes not, come here and talk about RC cars and stuff. And today we have somewhat of I don't want to say a repeat show, but it's similar to our top 20 cars because realistically, that's how it's always going to go. Today, before we get to any of that, but what we're going to talk about is our 3 cars that if we'd buy right now. I wanted to set a budget like, hey, we could spend $5,000. So this way we had, you know, if you had to buy all the stuff to complete the kit, you had to like take that into consideration. But we're balling. We got no budget today, so whatever you want.
I made 2 different lists.
No, you didn't. You made one.
No. I made another one after you asked me about my list.
Well, we have graphics, so you can't change your list. Can't change your list now. It's permanent forever.
With a budget, it's like a buying recommendation, which is also fine. But without one, it's just like, hey, if I had, you know, just buy whatever I want, what 3 cars would I buy? So I think it's interesting either way.
I like it. It made me think the whole flight home.
It gave you something to do. I want to talk about something. Let me set this up here. It's very disturbing. And I don't have the warning, but it's for mature audiences only. And not work safe, not that. I have to remove this to redo it. It's not work safe. So if you have any kids around, maybe seeing some boobies.
Now I'm excited.
I know, but
I feel like you're building us up for.
Derek didn't say it was a lady.
Oh
no! I want to talk about this.
What is that?
That it looks like someone crashed a tugboat into a truggy.
What is that?
This is look. I like Tekno. I think their buggies are pretty solid, but this wins the fuggliest thing I've ever seen award in modern times, because in 1962, vacuum forming.
I'm still here.
All right.
That is terrible. Whatever that is.
This is their truggy. And so, I mean, it's morphing into a buggy with big wheels, right? I mean, let's be real on this one. It's very close to a buggy body, but the square SS Minnow slash what's the boat that used to go in Vietnam on the river? The very industrial square top, like they just. I'm sorry.
It does look like a boat. You got your
tugboat
area in the middle. You got your closed deck in the front, so the party goes on underneath. There's a seat area in the middle, and the engine bay in the back. So you lift that lid up, and it smells like gas all the time.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a pontoon boat. You know, it's like a real boat, but you're only drunker.
Is there some sort of an advantage to that body?
I mean, people look at it and crash. So maybe like if they're coming up, they'll be like, "I'm getting tugboated." I don't know. I just don't understand this body at all. I got no words. It's that ugly. You know, it's like that's I think my hashtag was like a face nobody could love or something like that.
Yeah,
But
even my mother wouldn't love it.
I feel like somebody got fired and they had to come up with the body for this thing.
I think you two negative Nancys are missing the point that it's super easy to make out of Lego. I made a model of it, and,
He just did it right now.
I mean, I don't know where my wheels are. I'm going to find those, but now I've got a little Tekno Fr-ugly Lego car. So
Trugboat, yeah, that's a good one there. Humble.
that's called a bright side, you jerks.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Way to polish that turd, Pete.
The body does look like someone said, "I can design a body," and then they
maybe.
realized that it's hard to design bodies.
what was your well, before we got on? Charlie said, "What did you think this looked like when you were a kid?"
Me,
Charlie.
Oh.
So you guys remember all those drawings of cars you did when you were children? This is worse than that. Like I drew a truck and it looked better than this when I was 4.
Yeah. And I'm not bashing underneath it because underneath looks like a very modern, nice buggy.
Right.
But I guess this is almost like Tesla made this somewhat ugly, futuristic '60s truck, and that's my version of it.
I like they call it a truck boat. That's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'll put that up there because that was good.
It looks just like my truck. We've all drawn that same exact vehicle, I don't know, hundreds of times in our childhood.
And I'll say none of what Pete did was pre-scripted, so his Lego version and the drawing was all done on the fly.
He has Legos and crayons at his workspace, is what we're learning.
Next week we'll draw the buggy.
There you go.
Oh, he added the wing.
I want to make sure they knew it had a wing. I mean,
if Tekno is ever going to be a sponsor or spend any money with me anymore, it's over. But all right, so the first thing you should do if you get that buggy is just call Proline, and hopefully they come out with something that's not as ugly.
I do like that the bed appears functional. You put stuff in there, it wouldn't come out. Yeah,
it's going to be full of sand when you're done with the race. I gotta get that off. I'm getting a little scared. Told you may see some boobies.
That was worse than boobies, though.
And then one more thing I'll talk about because this is something of interest. I just don't know how soon. So we all talk about the drag scene, wearing high heels, and the drag racing scene. My girlfriend watches this stupid drag show all day, and it annoys the shit out of me. So, do you have any guesses if this is just going to be a Slash, Charlie? I'm not going to ask you.
It says Drag Slash right on it.
I know, but is it just going to be a Slash?
It'll have front shocks on the back, all four front shocks. It'll have low body posts. It'll have a wheelie bar that clicks into multiple places. If I had to guess, it might, if they were ahead of the curve, have a shock on the wheelie bar because people seem to think that's cool. But yeah, it's probably going to be a Slash with banded arms and 4 front shocks if I were to guess.
All right, we're 2 weeks away from seeing it. Hopefully, I get one soon. I'm going to go back to the ugly body real quick because Bill says it jumps better because it gets no air. Yeah, it gets nothing. It gets no love, no looks. Of course, a buggy body always jumps better. It's very close to a buggy body. It's just, I don't care.
Well, I don't think anyone's like,
could have made it attractive.
Yeah, no one's like, oh, that body's so ugly because it's narrow. No, it's like, that's why it's.
You can have it wrap the chassis all you want and not put a small house on top for no reason with a backyard pool and an upper deck.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Tekno. No love.
I like the Tekno guys. I do not like that body.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Underneath is, I mean, I was going to show the underneath, but it looks like a truggy. Do people still race electric truggy? I'm not even sure, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Electric A-scale racing, based on my tech calls, is on the comeback. There's been a lot of EA-scale builders hitting me up for advice.
But buggy or truggy?
It seems like buggy mostly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the wheels are too expensive. It's too expensive. I mean, if you're not a good driver, it's really easy to drive. Man, the nitro truggies were like a dream. You just turn the wheel and go.
If you've got 100 e-truggy guys, how many of them used to race nitro truggy, and how many got into it as an electric vehicle? You figure, guess.
All? 100?
All which?
Yeah, it'd be all for sure.
All which?
It would be all 100 used to race No, that's there was an option there. They said, my bad. I misunderstood the question. Please repeat, boss.
Yeah, if you've got 100 guys racing e-truggy, how many of those dudes used to race nitro truggy, or maybe still also race nitro truggy, and how many I didn't start racing truggy until they went electric, and that's what got me into racing this class.
I see.
Electric option.
Is it their first car?
I think that the e-buggy guys got truggies and have e-truggies around, and that's what did it, because there was e-buggy guys that wanted to race another class, and that's probably most of it. But the tire thing does make a lot of sense. It's probably nitro guys carrying over, but I'm a little out of contact with tracks.
Yeah. If you race truggy, that's okay. We still like you. You should probably just race buggy.
I like truggy. Is truggy like the short course of the A scale world?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little easier. So, I mean, I'm okay with it because I probably need to have a little easier in my life at this age. All right, we're going to jump into some of the discussion of or not top three. It's what we would buy right now. So
right now,
Pete wrote an email, which I didn't read all of because that's how I read. And he had the idea of, now right now doesn't mean that I don't have it, or just that if I had nothing.
It means whatever you want.
I clarified this before I picked, but
I took it as the exact question that I got is, what 3 RC cars would you buy right now?
All right. Do you want to read what I actually wrote? This is what I texted Derek.
Yeah, please.
I'm pretty close.
I feel like I should get in on these email lists.
Yeah. I was going to forward it to you, but I gave you the short version.
It wasn't email. I thought I texted you. Hold on.
I thought it was a text too.
Fugly McTrugface. That's a good one too. I like that.
That's the name of it. It's Tekno.
Fugly McTruckface EAT 47.91011 point. Stop putting points in your names of vehicles, everyone.
Are you ready? We've done this sort of thing before, but 3 cars we'd buy right now. Don't have to be new or even currently available. For example, you might choose a Slash for a run anytime, no maintenance thing to drive whenever without any prep other than charging a battery, and a vintage Tamiya Falcon because you always wanted one back in the day. So doesn't have to be currently offered, doesn't have to be the latest model. Just, it's your money. You've got money to buy 3 RC cars. What would you buy, and for whatever reason, including something vintage off eBay, because you didn't have that car back in the day. Just anything. You're going to buy 3 vehicles.
By the way, you can see where I stopped reading, which was like the first period, I think, right?
That's an email that you wrote just to Derek?
Yeah. But I didn't have your email, or if I did, I didn't know I had it.
CharlieHobbywing.com.
Okay. Yeah.
Or I have the other one.
Derek, that was called jeffing an email, by the way. That's what happens if you don't read the whole email, you jeffed it. So.
That would have changed my choices a little bit.
I admit it. I don't try to say it. I said I didn't read the whole email, right? I mean, it was the first thing I said. I read the first. I said okay, and then because I couldn't think of anything else, so I was like, let's do that one. So, but I took it as what I don't have, and let me think about that. Yeah, I don't have what I put on there. Yeah, but whatever. I mean,
I didn't spell out stuff you don't have because I thought that would be assumed that you're not going to purchase something you already have. Because it wasn't really about here's a buying recommendation for everybody else. This is what I would buy and what I'm into right now.
I justified why I wanted another one.
You'll get into those. We're going to start with Pete because this is Pete's email that I read half or one sentence. What did you want to? I'm going to start with.
It doesn't matter. I'll talk about whatever pops up.
Got to be on the right thing.
I was hoping for boobies.
Oh, you got Bruisies. Yeah, I've never had a Tamiya Bruiser, and it's just the quintessential scale truck. I think they look great. I would build it and never drive it. I would just want to have it to look cool on my shelf. And
have you ever driven one?
What's that?
Have you ever driven one?
I've never even driven one. I mean, they're super stiff. They bounce around, and that's why I wouldn't be compelled to drive it because I know it's just going to be not awesome to drive. It's a model you can make go. I might drive it in that sense. I'd be like, yeah, I want to make a little video to see it go or something like that. But I want to be like, time to enjoy the driving experience and, get my Bruiser out on the trail. I would do that with TRX4s and axial cappers and that kind of thing. But just a super cool classic car that I've never had one, would love to have one, and I would definitely get one of those for sure. I do understand that you can get like a Chinese knockoff, but I wouldn't want to do that. I would want the real thing.
They re-released it.
Yeah.
No, but Tamiya's pricing is super high, and I guess there's like a, to the finest detail clone you can get from overseas that's cheaper, and you can't even tell the difference barely. But I would want a real Tamiya one. I wouldn't want a shaft Tamiya if I had the ability to get one right now.
My dad had a Bruiser when I was a kid. He let me drive it exactly one time. It was too fragile for a kid to be driving around.
Yes, to be honest with you, it's very expensive, not that fast, doesn't really do anything other than look cool. And not knocking it, but it was like a 1982 product, which in now of terms, they've made things that can do more than it, but it was a basis for a lot of stuff. And it has a 3-speed transmission, which it would be cool to build, but I don't think you're charging a pack up and running that thing around.
Yeah. And even if it worked well as a trail truck, I still wouldn't want to drive it, at least not with that body, because those hard bodies are so labor intensive. Those things that's super scale modeling. I'm not going to roll that around in the dirt and down a pile of rocks, you know.
Bruiser's on my top 10 list for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next, Pete went with something a little strange.
Yeah, I'm in a Facebook group for these things and many other Facebook groups. But the TRX6, I know it is a fun truck. I've driven one before. It's just a super cool trail machine, and with all the options you can put on it for lights and stuff. It's just a really cool truck. You know, I think the TRX forwards, locking diffs, and high-low transmission. That's just a real fun. It's kind of that the TRX6 or TRX4 for that matter. That's kind of like what you want the Bruiser to be. Like, you know, yeah, it's super scale, but it works, and it's built to actually, you know, take a lot of abuse, and you can really thrash on it, and you don't feel bad when it gets all scratched up, because it's just, you know, a consumable, replaceable body. It's all plastic parts you can easily replace. It's not aluminum stuff that's all cool when you don't want to get all gouged. You know, it's a Bruiser that can really go to work. And the 6-wheeler is just like the full-size AMG 6-wheeler. It's just an extra level of crazy, and it's pretty cool, and I would like to have one.
I've driven a few TRX6s. They're pretty awesome, and there's a bunch of guys that have them in our rock crawl club, and they destroy trail with those things. So it's a good time.
Interesting.
And you can put 2 whole 3 beers in the bed of that thing and drive around, no problem.
That's important. Pete's last pick.
Yeah, I wish I had bought one of these when they came out. It's just
a lot of people
race bug. It's a great looking car, and that's another one I would just put on the shelf. And I would actually, I'd be happy to have an authentic vintage one, but I'd be happy to have a classic, the re-release version, which would just go together nicer, have a little better level of finish. Wouldn't have to kill myself to find one, you know. That'd be a fun one to have just as an RC collectible, as a great looking car. And I would definitely want to scale it out, Jam and J Halsey classic spread ad style.
Yeah, you know, we did back in the day with the Extreme. We did an original, I think when the B3 came out, or I don't remember, B4. Yeah, we did a head-to-head and put modern electronics and tires. It really wasn't as bad as I would have thought, because modern tires make a big difference. But it was obviously there was some time difference, but it wasn't like you couldn't get around the track. It just handled a little different, and you know, tires make a big difference. But it was closer than I would have thought, to be honest with you, especially on an indoor track. I mean, outdoor, I'm not really sure, like with a little bit more ruts, but you know, it still can hustle.
Yeah, well, once you're into real independent suspension and decent oil shocks, as opposed to a floating rear pod on ballpoint pen springs, like pretty much anything will get around the track and not be terrible. Not going to win, but I mean, you'll be like, I can't drive it. It's ridiculously bad. I mean, it won't be.
Driven a few cars like ridiculously bad. We're going to go to Charlie, and he has an addendum to his list here. For some reason.
Well, I went with 3 RC cars that I would get right now for my current situation, so I can preface why I didn't pick some of the heavy hitters that the people might be all about.
No, you're right.
I currently own a Traxxas 4x4 Slash, and I want another one because we do backyard track racing, and it's very handy to have 2 trucks that are pretty similar, so you can swap between the 2 of them, or if somebody needs a truck to drive, you have a loaner truck to go. So I've had a lot of fun with this Traxxas Slash that I got in a trade of RC cars years ago type of thing, and kind of just kept it running, changing bearings and stuff like that. So I kind of fell in love with the Slash because we were at the time racing, I think low C 2.0 SCTEs and 3.0 SCTEs, and it would keep up and be fine in a backyard track. So I was very pleased with that truck. A lot of fond memories.
Yeah, it's fast. It was one of the first like fast four-wheel drive cars, like or RTR anyway, I think, right? And you can beat the shit out of it. Your next pick, I'm just deciding which way to go here. I'm going to stick in the family here, and Charlie chose.
It's another one that I have a lot of experience with, the X-Maxx. How do you not love an X-Maxx? I've been around RC cars a long time. I bust them out in front of people, and I show them. I don't get any sort of reaction like I get with an X-Maxx. So if you break your X-Maxx, they're like, oh, it broke. You can just bust out your second X-Maxx. Oh, it's fine. No, I'm kidding. But realistically, that truck is so much fun that I'd like to do kind of a basic one and a built-up one, and that's kind of what I'm working on right now. So I had a basic one, and I'm building one up. So I'd like to get another one because I retired the basic one to a buddy, and I need to have more X-Maxxes. And the wow factor from the kids and all the people that see that thing run is I like when people get fired up about RC cars and all that.
When you flop your big X-Maxx out?
Yeah. I'm compensating. I'm a small little man, so I'll get a big RC car every time.
The only downside to the X-Maxx to me is actually, depending on your car, it may not fit in it. Because I had a Camaro with a very small opening for a trunk, and it was laying pipe getting that thing in there.
When I go to events with the X-Maxx, I have to put my bike rack on the back of the cube and put the X-Maxx on the bike rack because the car's already full. Like, it won't go in with the rest of the I'm driving down the freeway with an X-Maxx strapped on the back of the cubes. Like, people drive by like, oh, nerds.
Oh, I agree. It is a very impressive big truck.
Yeah.
And especially after they upgraded the they go to 4S stock or whatever. They changed like
I never had the bad X-Maxx. I've only had the good one. I got
it was 6S at first, which was fine.
It was fine. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the 8S one is even more awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, the original one I thought for the size of it was adequate, and then you go to 50 or whatever. It's stupid.
And I mean, a monster truck versus like a race truck or a truggy or something like that. There's just something about the way you can blast through leaves and bushes and tall grass with a monster truck.
People, legs. Whatever, a lot of stuff you can hurt with that.
Between its size and the suspension, the X-Maxx doesn't really need a nice place to run. It needs room, but it doesn't have to be nice.
Right. Right. A riverbed.
Yeah.
That is the first place we broke our X-Maxx in like 30 seconds. So I don't recommend the riverbed because Ben took it out and one little rock ripped an arm off. So and then it never broke again. Charlie's last pick.
The Tamiya Big Rig and the trailer, because I worked for Tamiya at Long Beach Grand Prix a couple times, and I got to do the demo where you drive the Big Rig around. And it's very hard to do all of it in sync because I would announce the guy drive. I was like play-by-play announcing him parking the Big Rig and moving the trailer. And we had more people around the Tamiya track for those situations or for those sessions than we did for some of the racing, because they'd see the racing a couple times and they wouldn't stay to watch, but they'd see the guy doing the Big Rig stuff and they'd line up. And then when I got a chance to do it, like, it takes a little bit of like nerve and depth perception and all that to do that stuff standing from the side. So Big Rig's always been cool. I've driven a couple of them. I've never owned my own. My dad built one for a hobby shop that I worked at years ago, and it took him like a week and a half. So I think that it's a very cool scale model. It's another one that has a 3-speed transmission, and with the trailer stuff, it's like hours and hours of fun. Parking the trailer, unlocking the trailer, driving around, picking the trailer up. You want to nerd out on some nonsense.
When I see those European guys who do like the super scale trucking in his little miniature city, I'm like, I could get into that. That looks like fun.
Yeah, me too.
A different kind of fun, obviously, than wild and crazy, high-powered RC action, but still fun.
On that same level, I went to one of those tank battles. Have you seen the guys do the scale tank battles?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's pretty awesome too. I'm down with that. I have a tank, so.
It's sort of like watching what's the video game Mud Runners, where it's kind of like a realistic and people watch it online. That's what parking the Big Rig is to me. Right. And I bought the game because I watched it, and then I was really bored with it, like hauling lumber.
The Big Rig, you can from the radio, you can flash the lights on and off. The turn signals work. You can honk the horn, rev up the engine. It has all the air sounds. The thing is super scale. Like those things are awesome.
I would have the vibrator,
it.
the vibration thing where when you start it, the cab will jerk and yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah,
super cool.
Right. Now we're on to the me, and where did I start with here?
Well, hey, before we get to you, let's say why I didn't pick all the most popular vehicles out there. Because I work for an RC manufacturer, I'm getting all of the Arma cars, so I know that those are coming to me. So I'm gonna, because we're doing videos and installs and all that stuff. I have my original RC car that I ever owned in two forms, one that I can drive and the one that is brand new built that sits on the shelf like a queen. Otherwise, I think that everybody should always have their first RC car that they ever owned on the shelf somewhere for the memories.
What is it?
Tamiya Fox.
Very nice.
I couldn't. That was an expensive one. Santa didn't bring that to me.
I was a spoiled little brat when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks,
I went with, I'm going to start with the first one because I still feel like even though electric, everything takes over, there's no replacing effing nitro buggy. I'm sorry. And I will only take the one if Adam Drake builds it and then sends me a picture of himself.
Holding your buggy?
Yeah, like that. There you go, Derek.
If you look at Drake's Facebook page, there was a kid who struck that pose for his trophy photo, and Adam did his own tribute, which I thought was nice.
That was
the kids had more panache. The kid had looked a lot more flair. He was selling that pose. The kid. It was pretty good. I did laugh at it. It's like Chunk from the Goonies 1. My next car, and I thought about this for a while because
that pose should be standard. By the way, I want to see like
instead of the squatting
that, and everybody
the poop squat photos that I hate, where everybody would squat down, look like they're picking up poop at the trophies. Yeah. My next one, I thought about this for a while, and this was my random pick because I wanted a basher with something fast, and it's something that I haven't had, but I want, and it was this guy.
Oh, you know why that's not on my list?
You forgot about it?
No, because I drove a couple of them, and my buddies have them.
No.
So I know I have access to one whenever I want.
The thing with the Unlimited as a racer is you have to drive the wheels off it. You can't be like, I've got plenty of traction and I'll just turn now, because it won't. You'll get on two wheels. You need to really have that thing on braking traction, sliding around like a full size desert truck. Which is a bad thing. It's just something that I think that people don't understand. Like you try to run the thing in the street, it's not going to do what you think.
I assume it's made to go straight fast, but and it just looks cool, and I know it's fast out of the box, and I think it's pretty durable. Again, I never had one, but I think it's just a good looking and the right size, because it's a little bigger than a 10 scale, and it's not the big like low C size fifth, whatever those giant ass ones are, with batteries that can power a real car.
Those are perfect for guys who do pit bike races and stuff, because they look the right scale for pit bike tracks and stuff like that, and they're not, it looks very cool. It's scaled the way it works. Like they're a ton of fun to drive. So
have you seen one in person, Derek?
No.
Yeah, I mean, they represent well in photos, but in person, it's really a super great looking truck. I mean, the scale details, and if you want to like add some paint and stuff to those scale detail parts in the back, they really pop.
The spare tires work. You can take
it's a great looking truck, and obviously it won't do the stuff that a full independent suspension ultra long travel truck will do, but that's not scale. This is a scale truck that it still will absorb a lot of abuse and crazy off-road gnarliness. It's its own thing. It's cool, and it's as big as you want to go, where you're like, wow, it's so big. Without it's like, wow, this is really kind of a pain to deal with because it's so big.
It fits in the truck. We had two of them at the backyard track that we run at, and those two against each other, like we were fighting over whose turn it was to go next, because they're so much fun to race. You have to have a different driving technique to get those around a track that you hammer on with a 4x4 short course type of deal. So that's a good pick, Derek.
I was proud of it, and only because it's really something I never had that I would consider purchasing. My last pick, because I haven't raced this class, and I can't even remember, but it was my first real race car, and it wasn't the vintage version. It's the new one, because you always like 3Ds.
The point
And
though.
Well, look what came today.
Asking you shall receive.
Yeah. So it was a coincidence.
What's the D
But
stand?
I would not get the stupid carpet one if we want to talk how much
Sure.
I hate carpet racing. It's full D, and I know Charlie's into the.
Whoa.
He has a D bag.
version.
He has a D bag.
I thought D was for Derek.
No.
So well, dirt must be a significant portion of the marketplace there. If they're probably bothering to make a dirt car as opposed to a dirt parts package, to optimize for dirt with your carpet car.
I'm sure across the U.S. it must be around 50-50 for them to have a full carpet version. The pictures in here, I think, have carpet tires. I mean, I think those are I don't think you're running those on dirt. They look like carpet front.
Tires.
Oh, never mind.
Sure, dirt doesn't mean.
No, it shows one car and the other. That's why I was like, hey, wait a minute. I just played a trick on me. This is the dirt side, and then this is showing the carpet side. Because I got those like 3 rib fronts. But what I really want to run is, and Joe's still here, I'll be happy, is I really want to run back outside on a real track. So Joe has his backyard track, which is not clay, it's not hard packed, but I want to try to set this car up for like running back in the day when you ran outside and didn't have a groomed track where it's clay. Because that's real D.
What do you mean by set up? Because you don't really set things up.
Huh? Well,
what do you mean by set up? Because you don't really set things up.
I know. No, but if I built it with the right setup, that's how it would go.
Gotcha.
I'll change oil, tires. Other than that, I'm not gonna really mess with it. What else are you gonna change? I don't understand. You're not gonna run 4 degrees camber out on somewhere. You're not gonna run 22 in. It's the same thing.
There are some basics that need to be covered, and then you drive.
But yeah, freaking car doesn't turn earlier. It's not that hard. Or brake and send the weight forward. But I'm kind of excited to build it because I haven't built a 2-wheel drive buggy in forever. 2-wheel drive buggies are simple. Last cars I built are like ultra complicated Tamiyas with 97 parts falling apart when you're trying to stick the arms together. So it's like I'll kind of be happy to actually just build a race kit because we've kind of been neglected from race kits for a while. So, but I probably will go to OCRC if I'm being honest with you. So where I can actually test it how it's supposed to be and not say, oh, I drove it in Joe's track and I couldn't figure it out. Danny, I live in California. So, and then Joe's going to make fun of me because I don't go to his track. I also have a stock Slash race at Joe's track, which would have made my list, except I had a better list than that. The Slash is a great car. If you don't have one, you needed one in your life. It's started everything from drag racing to short course and has morphed into a million things. Oval. Actually, I'd really like to, oddly enough, to race Slash Oval at this point.
Mud Boss, bro. That's what you want to get. Some Mud Boss.
I don't even know what that is.
It's Slash Oval.
Oh. Then yes. Or Super Street, whatever they run, like the big full-size trucks, like at Long Beach, with some jumps and the truck going up on 3 wheels. I want that I think that should be an RC. We should be able to get the 3-wheel turn. I don't know how that's possible.
Did a stock Slash class where we ran 2-wheel drive Slashes on the road course, and they put ramps out there. And
yeah, fun.
Just like that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I'd run that for sure.
Danny brought up Delta RC Hobbies and Race Park. I live an hour and a half from there, and I didn't make it out there until very recently, and that's a pretty cool place. They have like a dirt oval track, they have a 10-scale off-road track, then they have an 8-scale off-road track, and they have a fully stocked hobby shop. So it's in Antioch, California, if I'm not mistaken. It's like an hour, maybe 2 hours north of San Francisco.
I'm not that close. That's not a club race for me. That's like a vacation.
That's
And
8
I-
hours of driving.
Yeah.
Stay at the couch, dog.
Yeah. Just ride my motorcycle up there.
That's a single guy trying to fill a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to see if anybody else put their lists over here for a second. Let me thumb through if somebody put that I saw a couple people say this is what they would buy. Let me make fun of them.
Dino J asked you about the new ET48 2.0 and your thoughts on it.
Somebody asked me?
Yeah, he joined late. He didn't know.
Oh. You got to rewatch it.
Either that or it's
I
sarcasm.
don't think we held anything back on that one. There was somebody posted something. I can't find it.
If I got a fourth vehicle, or if I knew the circumstances that Pete had put for us to make this list, I would have added or replaced the X-Maxx with the Tamiya 959. Because my dad had one of those too, and I never got to drive it. And I thought that thing was awesome. The 12 scale 4-wheel drive one.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I'm sure it's terrible, but I'd like one so that I can know if it's terrible or not.
Well, it was another one of Tamiya's, like, let's just pack it with unnecessary technology. You know, like the springs were separate from the dampers, and it was just a moonshot of stuff under there.
It had like
12 scale.
like coil springs, right? Like like they were on the arm instead of on the shocks or something like that. Like,
Yeah, the shocks were separate from the coil springs because coil springs don't need to go around the shocks. They don't care. It's a way to do it. And
They weren't torsion springs?
Tamiya did that with the
oh, it was,
CCO1 as well. Or CRO1, sorry. They're rock crawler.
Oh, they weren't torsion springs like and like the small pack.
I thought it was like a torsion spring on the arm. No,
I thought I had a coil, but I could be wrong. I don't remember.
you wouldn't even let me look at the thing because I wanted to drive it so much. So
Thanks, Dad.
well, he had to build it, and it took him probably a month or two, so I could see why.
You
drove
remember
it
when
once,
he-
actually, I stole it. Like my buddy was like, "I'm going to RC track." We had this track that had like a dirt pit in the middle that had cones, and you'd go drive randomly throughout the day when you were there, and they'd say race time, and then you go out and race. So I was going. My dad was at work all day, so I took it and I ran it and lost a dog bone, so I got totally busted. The dog bones fell out.
I'm not going to knock Tamiya because I'm a Tamiya fan, but a lot of their stuff is very hard to run because your dog bones will be falling out. A lot of your screws that you didn't Loctite were falling out, or if you were dumb when you were a kid and put Loctite on plastic. But
If you drove them scale, they were fine. It was once you started driving them like an RC car that you started to have problems. They were made for scale realism.
Speaking of Porsches, do you remember Kyosho had a Porsche body on the Burns chassis? Like a very scale body, but an 8 scale. It was a giant Porsche for like 1 year.
When A-scale GT was becoming a thing.
It was before that was a thing. It was just like, here's a weird giant nitro car. This is like, you know, in the 1990 Tower Hobbies book. And they had a 8 scale nitro powered F1 car too. That was super cool.
I remember that one.
was that the one where they tried to mail you parts to build?
It looked like that, but that was that may have been the same model, and they did it with another company that you subscribed to the kit and you would get parts from it. But that may have been an electric version. And to me, it had a 4-wheel drive F1 car that was very cool. So many, you know, these models, and pretty much it's only like the giants that can afford to do it, but they'd like invest in all kinds of tooling and R&D and development, and then like, 1 year car, now it's gone.
I have one of those Tamiya 4-wheel drive F1 cars. I think it was the F201.
Yeah.
They
did a Reedy race. They did a Reedy race with that car. Remember that?
It was a celebrity race, and because at the time I worked at Novak, somebody said no. So they said, "Oh, well, let's ask Charlie. He can drive an RC car." So I got to participate in the celebrity race with these guys. It was a 19-turn Reedy motors, and it was Orion battery, or it was 19-turn Orion motors, I think, and Orion batteries and all that. They gave us everything and was supposed to all be the same. And we're standing in the pits, and it was Barry Baker, Dave Junn, Rick Howard, I think Tossolini got a car. There was a bunch of dudes. I was way outclassed. I had no right whatsoever to be there. And Barry is convinced that Dave is cheating because he's beating him on lap time, and he can't tolerate it anymore. So Barry walks over to Dave's car and feels the front diff, and it had no diff. He had taken the stock parts and made a spool. So he wasn't cheating because he didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't use the diff balls. He's like, what?
Dave always had a little extra practice with anything Tamiya, so I also agree he was probably cheating. Yeah, but that was
Dave runs NSXs right now.
I thought I saw it online at once.
Right away.
He waited a month, I think. Yeah. But that race was actually really fun to watch. And the downside of that car is because they put too much power on it, under braking, it'd start blowing out the one of the gears.
Yeah.
But I think the Formula One class should have stayed four-wheel drive, although I haven't raced the two-wheel drive ones. But it just four-wheel drive makes everything a little easier and stuff. Why am I getting brighter and brighter? I feel like I'm on the sun. Better. Now I can see me. Hi.
Yeah, I agree with four-wheel drive makes everything better. I tell everyone, get a four-wheel drive first and then go to two-wheel drive. It's more money, but it's way more fun. Because I've worked the counter at the hobby shop many times, and I would always talk everybody into four-wheel drives first.
See, back in the day, I would have never said that because four-wheel drive broke and it was super expensive. But now, you're probably right.
Yeah, and cars have power now, so you definitely will appreciate having four-wheel drive.
Humboldt has the urge to buy a TT02.
Ooh, dude, that rally stuff, it's a little bit fun. Were you guys around when Losi did their rally car?
Yeah.
Then SoCal did a rally class. And at the time, I was working with the Yokomo guys. So we put Nabi tires on our Yokomo cars and went and raced the off-road track at SoCal. It was awful.
If you want some air under the body, rally cars are definitely the ones to kite everywhere. Not the smartest class. What else we got?
I think Madness ran a rally class when the HPI rally came out. And I recall, obviously, the cars were bottoming out all over the place, but those cars had an under tray, and they weren't as awful as you would think. I mean, they got around.
If you're going to do a rally, you got to have no jumps or rolling jumps. You can't have big jumps. It just it doesn't make any sense. I always wanted to do a rally actual race where, and to me, the old Tamiya track was perfect because they had an on-road track. Sorry, over here, and an off-road track right behind it. And I wanted to do stages of timing through that to where it was like, okay, here's stage one, and everybody goes out and does that. And I think they actually did it there for a while. There was a rally group in Southern California that was doing that kind of stuff. I have a lot of ambition to do that stuff, but I just don't. Is it ambition?
I think ambition is not the word you want to use there. You have a lot of good ideas, not enough.
I'd like to do it, but somebody else could do it.
I'm an idea.
Yeah. Associated had a rally car too.
Yeah, everybody jumped on it for a second there.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing we learned today is today was a fancy day because I drank wine. I don't know if anybody was paying attention. It's wine day.
April is wine month.
Yeah. And if you come out with a new car, please don't ever make it look like a shitty tugboat. Even if it's the best handling car underneath. I don't understand.
We have to look at these things.
You want me to bring that? You want me to bring that back up? I mean, it's getting sick.
Do it one more time.
The funny thing is that body will impact Tekno's sales exactly zero.
You're
really?
right. He's absolutely right. Pete's a smart man. Like it doesn't matter. RC cars are a piece of awesome technology under a plastic shell with
I will tell you whose sales will benefit from it.
Pro Lines.
Yes, because that's got to be the first thing to get the hell out of there. It's whatever.
Does Son of Dale do the truggy bodies too? Son of Dale, you've got to fix that, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure there's already one coming, and another one will fit. I think we're done today. I think we did enough damage. Last week we solved, or 2 weeks ago we solved racing problems, and I'll let you know that nothing's changed. We didn't help with that.
Our advice yet?
Nobody's taken a single word we said.
Come on,
I'm gonna be honest with you, smart. Even if we had a good idea, I'd rather someone else do it than me. So we may be back next week. We may be back the week after. It really depends on everybody's schedule here. Charlie, glad you're here. Peter, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me back.
Anybody that was stupid enough to watch this for 44 minutes and 56 seconds, subscribe. Hey, I'm going to put a hat option up on. It's $30 for the hat shipped in the U.S. Outside the U.S., you have to pay for shipping. And it comes with every back issue. So that's going to be up on somewhere in the next day. I got all these hats. Got them custom stitched with 12,000. Broke the guy's machine. It was a nightmare. But they came out all right. And so you can buy one, or I will just have about 46 hats to wear it for the rest of my life. that's what I got, a hat collection. And
buy Derek's hats.
Buy a hat or not buy a hat. And then, because I said I'll have 30 hats. Once I sweat one out, I don't have to worry about it.